I can't just keep pouring it. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Welcome, everyone, to City Council budget hearing, day 5. Hopefully, this is our last day of these budget hearings. Please stand for the pledge. Lee, could you take a roll call for us?
Yes, Councilman Scringy. Councilman Scringy.
Lee, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Present. I apologize.
That's all right. Councilwoman Riley.
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns is absent. And Councilman Strawn.
Present.
Councilman Scanlon.
Present.
And President Rosnetti.
Present.
That's 6 here, 1 absent. Burns.
Okay, we'll get right into it. I hope everybody sent an email a little after 3 today, so hope everybody saw. We're gonna make a slight modification. Obviously, the callback page are just in there in general, but Councilman Burns is here, just for the record. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the callback of page 212 as it relates to construction engineering. So we did not vote on that part of as a whole, but specifically tonight, Mayor David is with us, and we're going to talk about the Marabito Stadium improvements. And then, of course, if there's any other questions for him or Chuck on the other stuff is milling and paving, but it is a big section as far as dollar amount. So obviously the whole section will be, the 212 sections construction will be reopened before we approve or vote on that page. So the main tenor of this is to get this questions answered about the stadium project, but of course the other items will be open too for questions before we look at the whole thing. So Mayor David, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Strawn, President Rosnetti, members of City Council. Can you hear me? All right, okay. Always a pleasure to come to City Council or a work session to provide information for council members to make informed decisions on initiatives and proposals submitted by the administration. As Council Member Strawn indicated in the budget, we have the 2022 budget. We have proposed $2.75 million worth of investments, capital investments into Marabito Stadium, which is the current home of the Binghamton Rumble Ponies AA baseball team, New York Mets affiliate. And as everyone knows, and as the public is well aware, the city and its partners had been working with Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball for the better part of a year to ensure that baseball stays in Binghamton, AA baseball stays in Binghamton for the foreseeable future. And one of the primary items that allowed Binghamton to keep the team was its series of proactive investments over the course of several years, utilizing some of our reserves, securing state grants, and to the credit of the owner of the team, John Hughes, who has invested a significant amount of his personal money as well into capital improvements. Binghamton obviously did secure the AA Rumble Ponies. And so once the dust had settled, if you will, that means that once the negotiations were finalized between Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball, Minor League Baseball continued to provide a set of standards for all 120 teams to ensure that all of their facilities met a certain level of compliance. And what that means is you're not treating Binghamton any better or worse than any other facility. All of the facilities have to meet the same standards. So I brought some documents that I will share with Mr. Rogers and ask him to email them to members of City Council. But I would like to read one of these into the record right now, just for any member of the public who may be following this. This is a letter that I received today. It was sent at my request by a company called Ewing Cole. It says, Dear Mayor Richard David, at the request of the city of Binghamton, Ewing Cole performed a Major League Baseball player development license agreement assessment of Marabito Stadium on January 8th, 2021. So almost a year ago. Currently, Ewing Cole is a consultant to Major League Baseball to audit all 120 minor league baseball stadiums throughout the country to assess compliance with the Major League Baseball player development license facility standards. With the proactive approach by your administration, the evaluation of the facility revealed that Marabito Stadium does not meet the requirements of the facility standards in the following areas: security, home club facilities, visiting club facilities, additional club facilities, high-speed internet, playing field maintenance. So this was done, as I indicated, almost a year ago. Now, several of these items, because of the amount of money that we have invested over the course of the last year and beyond, have been addressed. Those items are the high-speed internet, the playing field, which is the dugouts, bullpens, field wall, batter's eye, field lighting, etc., and the player field maintenance. Those have been addressed, even though, so that's about half the items on this letter right here. So again, the ones that have not been addressed, the security, the home club facilities, the visiting club facilities, the additional club facilities, which are for umpires, female staff facilities, weight room, hitting, pitching tunnels. Those are the items that we're working to get in compliance, which is why we've allocated in the budget 2.75 million. And I will also add that we do have some unspent money from the previous round, if you will, of state money and a previous round of city money that was put in the ballpark of $600,000 approximately. So that brings the total money available when you add on to the bonded money that we're proposing to about $3.1 million to address these remaining items. So I have a copy of this letter, which I'll provide to Mr. Rogers to send to the members of City Council. And I also received today as well, another at the city's request, an email from Major League Baseball Professional Development Leagues. It says, Mayor David, on behalf of Major League Baseball Professional Development Leagues, LLC, I can confirm that our current facility standards address the categories referenced in the attached letter. The attached letter is what I just read to you. From our perspective, it is important for the long-term relationship, and that's the key, the long-term relationship between the clubs and Major League Baseball. And on the other hand, and more importantly, the health and wellness of our players, that all the clubs work to ensure that their ballparks meet the facility standard requirements set forth by Major League Baseball and the professional development leagues. So as part of this, as a major part of this, what we are doing right now, Ken Frank, Chuck Shager, and myself, we have been working with the owner of the team, John Hughes, on a long-term lease that would be done in conjunction with this investment. So that is what the city gets out of this, is the long-term, a long-term lease. Our goal is to bring you a finalized or as close to a finalized version of that long-term lease at Monday's City Council work session, so we can give you a copy of it. I would describe this situation as fluid. We've been working on it on a daily basis for quite a while. The lawyers keep going back and forth on language issues, as lawyers do, to make sure that all sides are presented. But I can share with you that this lease extension, it would be a several decade long lease extension, where the Rumble Ponies would continue to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into a facility they do not own. And it addresses a variety of different issues. And I'm hesitant to provide the specifics right now because, again, it's not finalized, but we hope to have it finalized by Monday, and then we would submit that to City Council. But the key is, and I cannot state this clearly enough, and I think it is important for every member of city council to understand that if the stadium is not compliant with the standards of Major League Baseball, that means that the team can leave. It means that if we don't do this, the team will relocate elsewhere to a facility that is compliant. And I can tell you, in my role as president of the Conference of Mayors, as someone who was on the task force of the U.S. Conference of Mayors when this issue with Major League Baseball and minor league baseball was taking place, there are several municipalities in New York that lost their teams, and there are several other municipalities across the station that will do whatever possible to secure a double-A franchise in their respective community. So we are the messengers, really. I'm part of this. I'm doing, I and the team, the administration, we're doing the best we can to position the city in the best possible position moving forward. We've invested millions of local tax dollars, state tax dollars in grants in this facility to keep us in the game, so to speak, and ultimately secure the team. This is something that needs to be done. And frankly, the work probably would not begin until next year. So I will not be here next year. A new mayor and the current council will be, advancing this. But I think it's very important to be crystal clear on what's at stake here. And I can tell you that there are currently overtures being made to the team right now. But fortunately, we have a great owner and John Hughes, who is committed to the city of Binghamton and to the area. But the facilities need to meet the standards set by Major League Baseball, not the individual owners. And so these items right here that I read are not limited to the city of Binghamton. They're limited to every all of the 120 teams and all of the facilities that they play in have to meet the same set of standards. So what we want to make sure is that the investment that we're making right now, Major League Baseball doesn't come back in a year or every year come back and say, here are our demands for the year. And obviously we've had those conversations, and this is what keeps them compliant for the current length of the professional development agreement. And I would just remind that under the previous, the previous setup, those player development agreements or those professional development agreements lasted 3 years. Now, under the new agreement or arrangement with Major League Baseball and minor league baseball, they're in blocks of 10-year agreements. Because they recognize that you cannot reasonably ask a city like Binghamton or any other city to put up millions of dollars just to secure a team for a 3-year period. So this is it for I would say for the next 10 years, and then I would anticipate that every 10 years or so there's going to be new sets of standards. But we had hoped to get this done sooner. These letters I asked for so that I could share them with city council so that you can get this information directly from the consultant who is Major League Baseball's consultant, not a consultant that that we just locally bid out for the city. The consultant handles all 120 facilities, and you could get this from Major League Baseball directly. But I do want to acknowledge the work of Chuck and Ken as well, who have worked very hard to keep this on track. And the details of the lease extension would be provided on Monday at your work session.
Okay. Before we open it up for questions, I just wanted to mention my understanding, make sure that this is true. In essence, what we would do tonight would be really, there's a couple phases of this. The contract would have to be done as well. And then obviously the final approval of the budget would happen in a week and a half or so. So without at least putting a placeholder in the budget for this, then the contract negotiations would in essence become a moot point at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to be clear that we obviously, would like this included in the capital line, but that doesn't commit you or not commit you. If you don't put it in tonight, that doesn't mean that the project does not move forward. If you put it in tonight, doesn't mean that automatically does move forward. The lease extension or revision has to go to city council for approval. And city council has to pass the bond anyway, and I don't believe that bond would be done this year, right? It would be done, it'd be done in February of next year. So, this is not a situation where you're committing money to an agreement you haven't seen yet. This is the timing and the timeline of how this has unfolded. And we provided a great deal of information for you to make an informed decision. But I just think it's important that you know what the stakes are.
Okay, let's open it up for any questions for the mayor or Chuck, if he can answer anything on any of these items that are open on page 212. Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, fellow councilman. Hello, Mayor David. How are you?
I'm doing well, Councilwoman. How are you?
Good. So you talked about 600,000 rounds of funding. What rounds of funding specifically are you alluding to?
You're talking when I referenced the leftover funds?
Correct.
Okay, so I think you'll recall that within the last few years, the city of Binghamton matched a state grant where we used $2.5 million of our reserves to match a state grant that came from at that time then Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan and Senator Fred Akshar together with their SAM grants and state money came up with $2.5 million of state funds under the condition that the city matched it. And so we used $2.5 million of our reserves for a total of $5 million to advance several of the items on the list that I outlined that are in compliance, that are currently in compliance. But when news broke, I'd say at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, when there was the discussion or dispute between Major League and Minor League Baseball, and it was unclear what was going to happen. Some of the work we put on hold until we knew what the outcome of those negotiations between Major League and Minor League Baseball was. Once things got back on track, we got this new set of criteria, or the criteria of things that had not been addressed. We took a look at the funds that we still had available and made sure that they were directed towards compliance related issues at the stadium, as opposed to what I would describe as non-capital compliance investments in the stadium. And so maybe the best example I can think of is, there's what's commonly referred to as a party deck on right field of along the first baseline of the stadium. That is a fan enhancement investment into the stadium. The owner cannot take that party deck with him when he leaves, but that is not an item that was necessary to address compliance related issues. So I think there are things that the owner wants to do to enhance the fan experience, which is one set of investments versus things like the field or lighting or compliance related issues.
Right. No, I was just strictly asking to clarify the 600,000, not the expenditures within the grant. So the 600 is the residual balance from the original grant that we matched the 2.5 million, correct?
That's correct. And,
Okay.
But you know me, I like to provide information and be transparent.
At the last minute, but thank you. Now regarding the certification, you said it is possible that it'll be 10 years, but the work that has already been done, it has already been approved and deemed acceptable per the licensing board, certification board?
Yes, we're working with Ewing Cole. So the items that I outlined that I said on the list are compliant. That comes from the Major League Baseball consultant who said you are compliant in these areas.
Okay, and then they have something written for the council and the city to review that will say we do not need to be recertified for all these changes, all these upgrades for 10 years?
When you say recertified, I'm not quite sure what you
Let
mean by
me
that.
change the terminology. We're in compliance. So when these upgrades that are listed on the document that you have before you that we don't have, once we've fulfilled those items, when we've met the requirements in terms of certification, we will have something in terms of an agreement that will say, now that you've met these concerns, you've addressed these concerns, you will not need to recertify for 10 years. We will have that in writing.
Well, we will be in compliance, and the compliance lasts for 10-year period. They put in writing that you are in compliant, as they put in writing on what we currently are in compliant for.
And,
Like
and
that-
so they may not say for 10 years, so they could come back with a
Well,
new set of documents, say 5 years.
No, it wouldn't come back like that. They're operating, these agreements are 10-year. They're done in 10-year allocations. They've gone from the 3-year allocations in the past to 10-year allocations. So this is what needs to be done for the balance for the next 10 years.
Okay, and just to clarify for me, in terms of our current relationship, we are the owners of the property, correct?
City of Binghamton owns the stadium, correct?
And so do we reap any revenue from the games, and at what percentage?
No, we don't reap any revenue from the games.
And how do we generate revenue for owning such building?
Well, there is the primary mechanism I would say is, and from an economic development standpoint, is that the team generates a lot of sales tax revenue for the area. And when you have hundreds or thousands of people in a specific area, they typically go to local restaurants and taverns, et cetera. So this is not only a tourism destination, a destination that brings people in from outside the city. It's part of, what makes Binghamton a vibrant and thriving community.
Hotels too, right? Didn't you work on something with the team for hotels as well?
That's right. So the one of the things that John Hughes did, to his credit, when he came to Binghamton is the previous owners of the team used to house the away teams in a hotel in Johnson City, and he moved them all into Binghamton hotels at the Holiday Inn. So between just the seasonal employment of jobs, supporting local vendors. I mean, obviously the stadium is a huge consumer of food and beverage, the sales tax revenue. The region benefits from an economic standpoint for sure.
So we should see somewhere in our budget, the cost of lighting, maintenance, what have you for the ball field for each year, correct?
The lighting is paid for directly by the Rumble Ponies themselves. We do not pay for that.
So that's part of our lease agreement.
Yes.
Okay,
We pay out, if you look into account 9950, A9950, I believe next year we have 60,000 in the budget that we pay to Bureau that goes to support the capital infrastructure of the stadium.
okay.
But
So
I think the answer to your question, Councilwoman Riley, that you asked is, are we going to get something in writing saying that we're compliant? And the answer to that is yes.
Okay, no, my question was about the terms. So for example, when you're.
That was one of your questions you
Right,
asked. me.
part of the, no. I knew they would say that we were certified, but I wanted to know the lengths and the expectation for recertification in terms of meeting the standards. So like in hospitals, like in schools, once you're accredited, you may not see them again for 5 years, and that's in your documents. So I wanted to know if we have something written to explain the certification or the process by which the stadium is assessed to deem its ability to meet the standards, like you said, across all 120 ball
Right.
fields.
And those
And I
operate in
wanted-
10-year intervals.
Okay. And then finally, in terms of this long-term relationship, that the long-term lease, I'm sorry, that we will see on Monday, that is not revenue generating either? Do we
Well,
receive?
If you've, I'm sure the council has been provided copies of let's call it the current or existing lease. The lease is not they're not revenue generating leases. It's about the community impact, the economic impact that these teams provide. We're not here to make money off the team.
The
Thank you.
lease is saying they're going to provide a team in essence, that there's going
Right.
to be a team
Right,
using our stadium.
right.
Then
Thank you, Mayor David, for answering the question.
they make the agreement with the Mets, obviously, to. for-
Right, they're
for that side of it.
they're a leasing. We own the stadium, we lease it to the team. And the team supports, a variety of local jobs and industries and provides economic benefit. I mean, your example is a good one. The hotel rooms that wouldn't be here, the people that wouldn't be going to restaurants, the people that wouldn't be employed, the reduction in sales tax revenue. That benefits the city, the county, the school district, our entire region. It pulls people into Binghamton from outside our borders. Not to mention all of the community events and fundraising and that the team gives back to. So they're an asset that I know mayors inside and outside the state of New York would do whatever they could to be in our situation to get a team or keep a team that they lost.
Councilman Scaringi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Councilman?
I'm well, thank you. A few questions. Could you elaborate, please, on the difference between the proposed improvements right now that, again, obviously are not because of us, but because of MLB, versus the improvements that took place in what you referred to as round one?
Sure. Some of them I think I'm just going off the top of my head, but the primary ones are all the LED lighting, because that was a primary issue. There was a new field, literally replacing the field, replacing all of the seats. But part of that was also addressing weatherproofing issues, because there was major leaks underneath the seats where the batting cages that were in the stadium constantly flooded, clubhouses flooded. I know there was some work done to the clubhouse. There was a new maintenance facility that was built, a new pitching and batting cage behind right field was built. The party deck was built. I mean, those I think are some of the more big ticket one. Oh, the new scoreboard, right? That was a big one. So those I think were the big ticket items, off the top of my head. Also, I believe John Hughes told us at one point, the team spends around $3 million locally in the local economy based on the things that we. So if you're looking for a number to, what's the annual benefit of the team? It's about in Broome County area. Okay. All right. $3 million annually. At the hotels. Okay.
We can't hear if Chuck is saying something.
The teams that come into the city to play, they rent out 1,600 rooms a year in hotels. And those people also go downtown and have dinner and entertainment, I'll say, afterwards.
You said it's 3 million in the Broome County area.
3 million he
Okay.
spends in Broome
Yeah,
County.
Broome County. Okay.
And I know he also mentioned he has, I think, like 350 to 400 part-time workers in the summer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you elaborate, and Chuck, obviously feel free to jump in if you feel it's relevant as well, but Mayor, could you elaborate a little more on the improvements that MLB is requesting now going further?
Sure. It basically centers on this one primary point in the club facilities for umpires, female staff facilities, weight room, hitting, pitching tunnels. And so, my understanding is the bulk of the work has to do with the locker rooms, making sure the locker rooms are the right size, expanding them, and making, because right now I don't believe there's isolated places for females. So the locker room is the bulk of those sorts of infrastructure changes. And I think for the coach offices and maybe the best way to describe it is, obviously Major League Baseball feels that the players at every level are obviously, huge assets from a development standpoint, and they want, the best of the best, whether it's, at Citi Field or Syracuse or Binghamton or wherever. They want, they're no longer differentiating from, well, this is a single A team, so we'll have a reduced, reduce amenities in training in health and wellness. And that's a major part of it too, is making sure from a health wellness standpoint that across the spectrum, there's more consistency in their facilities.
Thank you, Mayor. So so with these proposed improvements that Major League Baseball is asking for, or requiring, I guess, if you will, these are non-discriminatory across the board, correct, with respect to all stadiums, regardless of the team, regardless of where the stadium is geographically located? Is that my understanding?
That's correct. The other 119 teams are in the exact same boat and have to meet the exact same standards that we have to meet. There's no isolating teams, states, municipalities, levels as far as, AA or, AAA, et cetera. Every team across the organization, or every stadium or facility across the organization has to meet the same set of standards.
Thank you.
Gio, trying to make that simple for you is all the netting around the field has to be the same exact netting at every field, whether it's AAA, single A, the same make, the same manufacturer, everything. When you start looking at the warning tracks, let's say that they're 6 feet wide, every municipality has to have a 6 foot wide warning track all the way around the track with the same material down as the dirt. And it's actually not a dirt compost. I believe it's something else, so they could hear that they're moving off the grass into something else. So they're making it across the board for everybody.
So it sounds like, Chuck, they're centralizing a lot of this stuff.
You could use the word centralized. I think they're consolidating so everybody's exactly the same.
So if, as a complete aside, so when hypothetically, if we're entering into respective contracts for each of these proposed and mandated repairs, contractually, who does that run through? Does that run through MLB? Because I'm wondering, is there any potential savings that we can get if they've got 120 different stadiums, like you said, buying the same net of the same material? Is it from the same vendor? I think of like a shared services agreement with municipalities in New York State, right? If you're buying office supplies through one vendor, because of the increased volume, it can lower the cost to the consumer.
Gio,
Is that kind of what's happening here, or no?
That does happen in occasions. I won't say it happens every time, but there are a lot of single source items that we have to buy from a specific vendor that I would think Major League Baseball has negotiated a price with.
Okay, thank you.
It's also why we use Ewing Cole. I mean, that's the consultant to Major League Baseball. So you don't have dozens and dozens or 120 different people running around. Ewing Cole handles this for all the stadiums.
And the city's buying it, so we don't have to pay the sales tax too.
Right.
Rather than say leasing it or something like that, correct?
Say that again.
Renting it, rather than leasing or renting it out, if that was possible.
Yes.
Okay. So the next concern that I had, Mayor, that I don't know if you and or Chuck can elaborate on, I think Councilwoman Riley was hitting on a little bit, which is with respect to the round one funds that were allocated, and again, as many or all of you know, I voted against. These sets of funds, is that correlated with the time of the new contract? So for example, if we're getting a new contract and we're essentially saying to Major League Baseball, we're investing in you. And so how are you reinvesting in us? Besides the fact that Major League Baseball went from 3-year to 10-year intervals, is that a way that parity can be found in that? Because my concern is I don't want 2 years from now to hear, as I'm walking out of this office in this last term, that the new council has another $2.1 million worth of stuff. And then 18 months after that, there's $3.5 million worth of stuff.
Right. And
So
that's a good question, because that was our point as well. And that's why.
Right, yes.
These items right here are tied to
Right.
the 10-year period. So this
Okay.
is it for 10 years.
So that's
Because we had that same conversation. In fact,
right.
we asked for a call directly with Major League Baseball
Mhm.
to go to talk to them directly about it. So I spoke directly with 2 individuals from Major League Baseball on that point.
Right. I appreciate that. And then lastly, from a budgetary perspective, so Mayor, you alluded to, I think when you were referencing with Chuck, when this comes back around. So whether, sometime next Q1 of next year, whether it's February, March, or whatever it might be, that is an additional round of oversight, if you will, that city council has to ensure that a solid contract has been submitted to the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have at least 2 other votes before this moves
Right.
forward. So it will really be, I mean, no pun intended, but I mean, really what we've done is we've teed this up for you, but it's up to the next mayor and the next council. You see, somebody thought that was funny. Nobody laughed here. I
The
think
golf fund is in a few minutes with
Councilwoman
Pat.
Friedman, at least. Thank you, Councilwoman Friedman. I appreciate that.
We got the golf fund coming up here in a couple minutes.
The Councilwoman Friedman she's holding back. She wants to laugh, but she just doesn't want to let it through. It's okay. No, she doesn't want to laugh at all. Okay. Well, we'll correct, let the record, correct the record for her. So, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So we basically, we've got everything lined up for you. I believe we would enter into the agreement, but you wouldn't be borrowing this money until next year. The supervision, this would all be done during the off season, and would be done, I believe, on time for opening season. I think that's what he told us, right? So.
I understand, and I appreciate that, and I know you have, through these contract negotiations, I know you've been, to the best of your ability, looking to get the most, if you will, contractually, if that makes sense, for the city. So, but I'm glad to be able to codify that there are going to be future steps where this can be reviewed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Mayor, I just had one quick question in listening to this. I think it feeds into the idea of the hopefully new things or things that we weren't expecting. Because you said in January they had things on the list, but then some of the things we had addressed, who's the purveyor on our side? Obviously, some things like the netting might be standard. We buy them, install, hopefully they're installed properly. Is it the city engineers? Is somebody from the team? Is there somebody on our side that with that company, I can't mention this, says, wait a minute, I think we did do this, or that kind of goes through that list and make sure,
Yes.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where I'm not saying pushing back, but saying,
No,
no,
no.
I think we did
That's a good
address that issue. And before
Go
it's
ahead, Chuck.
finally done. Does
We
that make
have an
sense?
engineer that's over there all the time working with
Okay.
them.
So they see the list and they work with that. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. The name you
Yes.
said for Major League.
Agree, disagree, or,
Right.
another way to handle it.
So there's a
Sometimes-
little give and take as to the, if there's something that's, a different, yeah, okay. And before it's said and done, then those two, the representative for Major League Baseball would agree with our engineer or the team that these things have been addressed.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can add to that, so what the chairman is asking, so for example, is that kind of like the Binghamton advocate and the JC advocate as it relates to the sewage treatment plant, right? Representation of those respective municipalities as owners? Is it kind of like that? An engineer that is working to ensure that what Binghamton is attempting to do is being met and being done timely to the best of its ability, things of that nature.
I think that's a fair analogy. The facts, I'll give you the facts, is Major League Baseball has their own organization that comes in and looks at it. John Hughes has his own engineer that's on a on-call basis for him, and they work with our engineering firm or our engineering people to come to an agreement on what needs to be done.
So there are multiple eyes. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on page 212, construction engineering as a whole, or specifically to this topic?
As it relates, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll just in case anyone, obviously, if anyone has any additional discussion, again, going back to what I said the other night when this came up, I know this took, particularly the number, I know this took a lot of us, including myself, by surprise. And I know that we all know in principle that, Mirabito Stadium is a city-owned asset. And obviously we have to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to keep it going and keeping the Rumble Ponies here as best, obviously, as we can. So due to the fact that, from what I'm hearing from the mayor, that the necessary and mandated changes that is coming from Major League Baseball are required essentially with this next contract, and hearing that it sounds like there's a lot of promise with respect to longevity in terms of time, which I'm happy to hear about that, as well as the fact that the mandated changes are correlated with the new 10-year time period rather than the 3-year. And most importantly, that we've got oversight on multiple rounds with this following the contract coming out. It would seem prudent to put this in the budget because we have multiple opportunities for future consideration that I know I, as well as my colleagues, will be keeping a very close eye on. So with that being said, with the concerns that I had, I feel in the interim right now they've been met. So I will make a motion to approve the engineering portion of the capital line on page 212.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Burling, wanna come up. You can come up here. All right, thank you. Apologize, that took a little longer than I thought, but obviously that was a important discussion. So thank you, Dr. Burling, for being here. We will, no further ado, we will open pages 75, 90, 91, and 95 and 96. So feel free to go through those pages as you see fit.
Okay, can everyone hear me all right? Good, okay. Page 75 is, I guess is payment for COD, our Committee on Architecture and Urban Design. We have 7 members, $400 each, so that's their stipend. And the next,
Hold on. Councilwoman Freeman, go ahead.
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Juliet.
welcome.
How are you?
hi, fine, how are you?
I'm good. I'm wondering why none of this money has been spent thus far.
COD prefers to have it all annually. The
at
other
the end of
board,
the year.
oh, I'm sorry, COD prefers to have it annually. They submit one reimbursement claim and they would like it all at one time. The other commissions, we submit it quarterly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, then that brings us to page 90, which is our ZBA Zoning Board of Appeals. And we have 5 members. We have their stipend. The general operating supplies is used for mailing, postage, envelopes, paper. And then we have a line for legal ads and advertising for public noticing.
Any questions on page 90? Go ahead.
Okay, and then page 91 is very similar. It's our planning commission. We have 7 members with their stipend, and then similar expenditures. It's a little higher because we tend to have more applicants for planning commission review than for zoning board.
Any questions on 91? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and that brings us to, I guess, page 95, the budget for my office. Are there questions or do you just want me to go through it briefly?
Yeah, whatever, highlight what you think is important, and then we can ask questions on anything else that we see.
Okay, we did hire a new program assistant, Shannon Costick. She started October 4th, so that vacancy has been filled. Let's see. We have a standard request for $1,000 for overtime. My staff tends to use comp time earned. So we keep that fairly low. Let's see, we did request an equipment line to be funded for the 6 individuals that go out in the field. That's for primarily identifiable clothing with the City of Binghamton logo. We've had an incident in the past where they were referred to as hoodlums, and I like to have them, I know it was very entertaining, but I like them to be easily identifiable with City of Binghamton jackets along those lines. Let's see. Office supplies are fairly standard. We have a giant plotter that we use to plot maps and blueprints. It's expensive. And then the signs are for the signs we use to post properties of when applicants don't bring them back and we can't find them, we have to buy more signs. And they're surprisingly expensive. Let's see, moving on. Travel and training, there are 8 people in my office now. 7 of us would like to attend a conference for training. So we asked for an additional, an increase, I believe, not a large increase. Now that COVID is hopefully at bay, we're hoping to attend some of the conferences that we couldn't last year. A lot of the conferences we attend, we are presenting at as well. Okay, and that just brings us to our final line is for subscription dues and membership. That's a APA membership for our planners. And then we also pay for the New York State Planning Federation membership, which covers our commissioners for zoning board of appeals and for planning commission for training and they have a lot of useful resources.
Councilman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. I had a question on two of the lines in the personal services section. So I see the housing safety specialist and the vacant property officer.
Mhm.
It says grant next to them. Does that mean their salary is funded through a grant?
Yep. And the date next to it is the date that that grant funding ends.
Okay, so can you, I'm a little bit confused. If it's funded through a grant, why are we also, would that be doubling up or it's just accounting for the grant money?
The grant money is recorded in a revenue line. Okay, we have
Okay.
to record the expense in a different line, and that's where the expense side is recorded.
Okay, so, well, but if one of them expires in December of 2021, why are we including it in the 2022 budget?
At this point, the mayor wants to continue that position as an ungranted, as a non-grant position.
So that would be just coming out of the regular
Tax base.
budget, I guess?
Yes, correct.
Right.
I see. Okay, so the housing safety specialist will continue to be funded through the grant. The vacant property officer is no longer grant funded,
Correct.
correct?
Right, that grant has ended. We're in the final stages of writing the reports for it.
I
But
see.
his
Okay,
position and responsibilities still exist. So.
right. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions for any of these open pages for Dr. Burling?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve pages 75, 90, 91, 95, and 96.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Thanks, Juliana.
Okay, we cut up a few minutes there. That's good. Pat's on his way up. Hey Pat, how you doing?
Good. How is everyone?
Good. Okay, we'll do these in two sections like we did when we started, when we had kind of double sections. We'll open the parks, rec, parks maintenance section pages first. And then before Pat starts, I'm going to do a series of motions to increase, to address the minimum wage issue and the and associated, in essence, compression within that. So we will, at this point, we will formally open pages 76, 77, 78 to 81, 82, 83, 84, 87, 88, 89, and the capital improvements as it relates to parks and rec in on page 212. Lori's been kind enough to write these up for me, so I'll go ahead and do these motions. So I will try to speak slowly and clearly. So basically what this is, if you remember in contingency, we already had set up a minimum wage, or Chuck and Lori already set up a minimum wage line in contingency. So that number's already there. So we don't have to do both sides. In other words, we don't have to go in and out of contingency. So these motions are taking it out of a contingency line that already exists. Okay. So what I'm going to do, there's three motions. The first one has the most. So I'm going to read the motion in total. Then I'm going to read the first one is basically all rec attendance. And I'll read what their wages their hourly rate would go from to. Every one of these for the three motions is a 70-cent increase incrementally. So what they're doing is, from the bottom so that the compression doesn't collapse, everybody in these rec attendant lines is getting increased 70 cents. Okay. Does that make sense? So seems like it's taken a while, but this will actually save us time. And thank you, Lori, for writing it up this way, because otherwise this relatively simple task would take quite a while. So number one, make a motion to decrease A1990.550100. Once again, that's the contingency for minimum wage line by 13,749.7 cents. And increase A7140.51800 temporary services by $13,749.07 to a total of $254,696.57. I'm going to read these lines real quick, and then I'll read that motion again a little bit quicker. First one is rec attendant. We'll go from 1750, total of 4,900 to $5,096, and increase to 1820 an hour from 1750. Second one, a rec attendant. We'll go from 1425 an hour to 1495 an hour, increase the dollar amount from 15,960 to 16,744. Rec attendant, 1350 an hour to 1420 an hour, $3,780 to $3,976. Rec attendant, $13 an hour to $13.70 per hour, $12,480 to $13,152. The next one will be $12.75 an hour up to $13.45 per hour. That's $14,790 to $15,602. The next one will go from $12.50 an hour. This is the biggest one because I think that's basically where the minimum wage is now. $12.50 an hour to $13.20 an hour. And that goes from $226,887.50 to $239,593.20. And we have a $14 an hour going to $14.70 per hour. That's $8,400 to $8,820. And then finally on this line, $13.75 an hour, people would go to $14.45 an hour, $13,750, and that to $14,450. What's the weather? Sorry, Lori, we have weather related here. I just want her to explain that real quick.
The weather related is we take a minus for the percentage of time that we estimate that they won't be working because of rain.
Okay. So that's like a, yeah, I got it. That's a breakage type
Yep.
thing. So that's going to go for the weather related closures will go from a minus 60,000 to a minus 62,736.63. So the total of those lines is 240,947.50. Originally will go to $254,696.57. So once again, this is a motion to decrease A1990.550100 by $13,749.07 and increase A7140.51800 by $13,749.07 to $254,696.57. Councilwoman Friedman?
May I ask a question before we vote on this, please?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just for clarification on the temporary services line, the rec attendant, they're all rec attendants, sorry, for the third rec attendant from the bottom, summer playground / spray park / carousel / summer camp / basket room, that rec attendant, that says one at 226,000. That's not, obviously that's not one position. Right? So what
Correct.
is the one? That's just the one like lump of
Instead of
money?
me, instead of me trying to figure out whether I'm gonna hire 50 kids or 75, I kind of base it off of here's how much money I have, rather than split it out into, the different amount of positions.
Okay, and that's true for all of these lines? They're not necessarily one position, that's just the,
Correct.
okay. All right, thank you for the clarification.
And I apologize, I should have said this. I think everybody was following along, but these are at the top of page 82. Councilman Freeman just alluded to that, but if you look at totals, everything matches what I just said. And you see the original is 249,4750, 240,947.50. That will now be 254,696.57.
Second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
So moved. Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll go to the next one. The next, they're increasingly a little bit shorter. So this is the lifeguards, rec attendant. Which one is this? This is on page 83. I should have said that the first time, so I apologize for that. So this is on 83, temporary services. So we're all looking at the same thing. Original budget is 191,428. Does everybody see that? Okay, I'm going through this a little bit quicker. So this is a motion to decrease A 1990.550100 by 9,976.96 and increase A 7180.51800 temporary services by the same amount, $9,976.96 to a total of $201,404.96. We'll go right down through this. That comprises lifeguards from $13 to $13.70 per hour for a total of $193,128 up to $203,527.20. Rec attendant from $17.75 an hour to $18.45 an hour. That total will go from $8,520 to $8,856. Rec attendant from $18.25 an hour to $18.95 an hour. $6,570 to $6,822. Rec attendant from $14.25 per hour to $14.95 per hour. A total of $30,210 will increase to $31,694. And then a change of the weather-related closures, same issue of a breakage of time when they're not working because of weather, from a negative 47,000 to a negative 49,494.24. So that takes this line in temporary services from 191,428 to 201,404.96.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, one more, and this is just one item, and this is page 88. Thank you, Lori. Page 88, and this is temporary services as well. Okay. So this is motion to decrease A 1990.55010100, sorry, by $728 and increase A 7620.51800 temporary services by $728 to $33,228. Everybody see that line there? This is adjusting detail line to the part-time custodian from $12.50 per hour to $13.20 per hour. Total of $13,000 will increase to $13,728.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
We have do we get a second on that?
Yeah, Councilwoman Resnity.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry.
Councilman
Thank you.
Burns. I think.
I don't think Mike was on, sorry.
Okay. Anyone opposed?
Thank-
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Sorry for that housekeeping, but that's kind of what this last day entails to some degree. So thank you, Lori, again for writing that up. Okay, so we are going to officially open pages 76. I already did that, right? So we open those pages before we did the minimum wage. Pat, you have those?
Yep.
Okay, so why don't you just kind of walk right down through them and address anything you want to, and we'll
76.
leave the type of questions.
We're on 76. There's a motion that I'd like to make on 76, something that we missed when we were doing the budget. In the personal services line on page 76, A720, 5100, the Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, it's listed as 7, it should be 8 hours. And the correct amount is 63,814.87. And 2 lines down, the Recreation Supervisor, Sports and Camps. We have it in there at 36,000. It's supposed to be 38,000. So the motion that we're gonna have to make to correct this is to decrease A 1990 55,000, that's contingency, for 11,107.87. And you're gonna move that to those 2 lines in A 7020.51000.
Mr. Chairman, quick question, Chuck, the 11,107.87, that is the total amount of the changes for both of those salary ranges, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. And what's the last 5 numbers on the contingency line, Chuck?
55000.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to move $11,187 from contingency line ending in 55000 to
Geo,
move that
it's-
amount of money out.
Geo, it's
I think that's
11,107.87.
I thought that's what I said. I apologize if I didn't modify the motion again out of contingency ending in 55000 for $11,107.87.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay,
All right.
wait, don't we have to do the
Chuck.
second? Don't we have to do the other part of the entry to move it?
Yeah, so what were the two positions again that relegated those changes, Chuck? Chuck? On
So
page
the assistant
76.
director goes from 8 hours up to 63,814.87. And the
Yes,
recreation supervisor goes from 36,000 to 38,000.
correct.
And that stays at 7? The 7 is
Yeah.
right on that? Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion on page 76 under the personnel services line ending in 51000 to increase the rec supervisor line by $2,000 from $36,000 to $38,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And the second one was for which position again?
Assistant Director of Parks and Rec.
Okay, so then I will make a second motion again on page 76 to increase the personnel services line ending in 51000 to increase the line salary of the Assistant Director of Parks and Rec by $9,107.87.
And
That should
make it,
be-
and make it 8 hours.
And make it 8 hours, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, now can Pat go?
Now we go to Pat.
All right.
All right, Pat, you're on.
So page 1 is pretty much the same. The only big jump is in professional services where we added the holiday carousel rides. The sleigh and horse used to come out of the mayor's office, and we've just added it into our budget instead. Page 77, our travel and training is increased. We have a couple people to get through school here, the different schools. And then we've added in, we have some pool operator classes that we're going to need to, some certifications we need to get done this year. Our arborist certifications are coming up, and we've added in Red Cross lifeguard trainings, which is a program that we've been running to certify our own lifeguards. And then our sub dues and memberships went up slightly with our ball field lighting. The control service for that is due this year. And our band concerts went up $500 or $1,000 to hopefully keep expanding the music in the park series. If you go to 78, these are our maintenance positions. It refunds one of the vacant laborer positions and our vacant parks maintainer position. Our temporary services stays the same. Overtime stays the same. On page 79, our general operating supplies went up. Just, you know, it's a line we use up every year, cost of living increase. And then our construction materials, we raised slightly just with the current pricing on lumber and other materials like that. Page 80. Our flowers and shrubs went up. That was after talking with company that does all of the hanging baskets downtown. Their price is going to go up slightly after several years. The next big, you go down to professional services. That is a big drop. We took out the contract on mowing, and coming up shortly in the future, you're going to see some end of the year transfers from me. We're going to be able to handle that in-house with the efforts that we've made to kind of get rid of some of these city-owned properties and side lot them and return some to nature. So that's where that money went. You'll see some transfers from me coming up to buy equipment so we can take care of that ourselves. Another change is the parks improvement and maintenance, which is on 80 and 81. We've taken some stuff out of there that is moved into a capital line that will roll over each year. Page 82, that's all of our different seasonal employees. And then we've increased just the general rec program budget by $1,000 to, you know, refill supplies and hopefully expand some programming and make it a little more exciting. 83, that's our pools. Plan on running the same hours we did this year. We've done in the past. Everything else there is the same. Page 84, the youth programs, the temporary service line there is a grant through the school district that runs one of their after-school play programs. And then we've increased our athletic supplies. We've been working hard to kind of improve the programming and expand it, and this will let us take that next step. Go to page 87, adult recreation. We use this for supplies for adult volleyball leagues, tennis nets, the other supplies that come up as needed. At the senior center, we're pretty much the same there. We did increase the 2 rec attendants who they're in the building when the rec supervisor cannot, like when she goes out to lunch or she has a meeting to go to, they run the center. So we increase their rate a bit from minimum wage to $15 an hour to kind of reflect the amount of work they do there. And other than that, everything at the senior center has stayed pretty similar. For our,
Pat, hold on 1 second. Let's park on the operating real quick before we go to the capital. Does
okay,
anyone have any questions for Pat on these operating pages, 76, basically through 89? Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have two questions. One, in terms of the temporary services, under the youth programs, how many, is this a new grant from BCSD, and how many years is this grant for?
this is something that we've been doing for several years. We actually, all we do is filter the payroll through us. The Parks Department does not actually, it's not actually involved with the program at all. I think this is just a convenient line to hold that money in.
Councilwoman
So it's
Riley,
ongoing. We can expect it every year.
in order for the school district to get this grant, they need to have different firms involved. So they've asked us if we will pay their people that are working. That's all we really do here. And then they reimburse us.
Okay. And then finally, for the senior center on page 88, it says that we've allocated $1,000 towards exercise equipment. And I know COVID reduced use of the facility, and I'm not sure it's even open yet fully. But do we own this equipment, or are we paying for leases?
We are open again, but yes, we own the equipment. So we have an exercise room upstairs with treadmills, bikes, elliptical, light weights, yoga mats, stuff like that.
So this is really for replacement if something were to break, maintenance, what have you.
Yes, replacement, or if we feel like we're getting so much use that we want to add a new piece of equipment in.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Pat, how are you?
Good, how about you?
Good. Okay, so sorry, I misplaced my pencil. But I do have a few questions. Where did my pencil go? Okay, hang on, sorry, let me grab another pen. Okay. So let's see, you answered a lot of my questions that I had. Okay, my first question is on page 76 under the temporary services. These two park ranger lines look identical, except one of them is for 2 and one of them has CD and is for 1. What does CD mean?
That line, the CD one, is funded by CDBG money.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, I found the pencil. Okay, sorry. A little dysfunctional here. Okay, CDBG. Thank you. Okay, my next question was on page 79, the equipment line. Are these normally things that are in the budget every year, or are these just things for this year's budget that you foresee needing to replace or repair?
This is in every year.
Okay.
And it's,
They vary from year to year though.
yeah, so some years I don't need 6 new garbage cans, but I might need 8 new picnic tables, give or take.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And where's my next question? So I took notes when I was going through this, and you answered, like I said, you answered most of my questions. I think my next question is about the proposed new rec center in Columbus Park. I didn't see any, or I guess that, well, my question is that I didn't see anything in there regarding that, but if it were there, it would be in capital, right? So I can save my question for,
So I don't have anything in capital for it. Just I figured that would be something that we would build all into one package when that's ready to come online.
okay. All right, perfect. I think those were all of my questions. Thank you.
Pat, this is one crossover question. I hope I'm not violating my own rules. Like, this is definitely budget related, but I know we've had conversations with code, and you and I had a conversation out at New Street the one day with the restoration of these positions, the new equipment. Are you able to accommodate requests from, I know it's a little bit of a point of contention. That's not a bad thing. When code has a lawn or something,
We
are you able to, I know you do, and I'm not saying that you, don't misunderstand my question. Do you have the resources is my question to accommodate that for the most part?
This will significantly help us continue on being able to mow all the code violations as well as the city-owned properties.
Because as Councilman Burns knows, mowing is a big near and dear to my heart. So I think it's one of the simplest ways to make something look good. So, and obviously that's a functional thing, but I knew you were short a couple positions. So definitely will, be supportive of those positions and the equipment necessary to accommodate that. Mowing.
And I drive by Phil several times this summer cutting his lawn. And so if you need help, he would
Yeah.
gladly
He's
join.
the
If you have any
one-
part-time positions for mowing, I might be interested. So,
No, I think taking it back in-house will be a little more accountability. And I think we'll do a better job than it's been done in the past.
okay, thank you.
And Phil, on that same notion, you should be getting an RL here shortly, that we're going out to purchase some equipment out of this year's budget to do that next year.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I know you talked about the RL a little bit earlier, but will that RL, I know it's surrounding the lawn and maintenance, since we don't have it, will we still need the additional lawn mowers or is that encompassed in this RL we will see?
So this RL you'll see will be for big equipment, where the equipment line in there is for your smaller push mowers, things like that. This will be for like a 0-turn or some type of riding mower that's easy to unpack off of a truck and it can really zip through a yard rather than standard push mower.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, any other operating page questions before Pat and Chuck go to the 212 portion? Okay. 212, your capital lines.
So our capital items, they all have a little A next to them. They're annual things that we do. There's 2 new ones this year that are big numbers right off the bat. We put them in capital the hopes that, we can do this and roll them over year to year with what we actually need. The first one is field conditioner Turfus. This is for just to improve all of our ball fields. The standard is basically, each ball field would get 1 inch to 2 inches of ball field mix, which is the Turfus field conditioner, every year for annual maintenance. It just hasn't happened in the past. And this will allow us to do that and hopefully really improve those facilities. And then the second one is the FIBAR service, which is the special engineered playground mulch. Keeping up with the playground mulch is just something that's been a really, really hard task for us. Well, this will allow us to have a landscaping company that has the correct equipment come in every year with a blower truck and literally blow it in, be done with the process in a week, where, it would take us months, the whole summer, to try and get to all the different playgrounds. This will be something that hopefully will go down over time once we do these standard maintenance that, should be done every year. Will get us back to a baseline operating. And then hopefully that cost would go down. So the initial ones this year are obviously a large number. I think it's something that's really important. One, for our playgrounds to be safe, and the second one, to have quality facilities for our kids to play on. The other ones are Ross Park, that's contractual, the $10,000. And then Ely Park is a large number with the golf course and some catch-up stuff, and I have that. So kind of a breakdown of that Ely Park number is some irrigation stuff, the mini excavator. We are going to go in and replace some floors in the building, kitchen equipment, a wash pad and chemical storage for the maintenance facility, drainage, a culvert, part of the cart paths, and residing the building up there. So that is all the capital listed for that 350. The carousel improvements, it's a rolling line. So if we have a major breakdown, hopefully we have some money saved up in that account to be able to manufacture new carousel parts. They don't make them off the shelf. So something breaks, we have to have, a metal worker custom make it. Pool improvements, same thing. Our pools are 60 years old, 60 years old, 40 years old, 40 years old, and 30 years old. So when they break, it's expensive to fix. So that's something that we roll over year to year to kind of build up. And then the last ones are planting program, where we do, trees, flowers, all that stuff.
Councilman Scringy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are you, Pat?
Good. How are you, Gio?
Good. Good to see you. Thanks for coming down. With respect to the Plant Street line and the $20,000 to that, do you feel that's a sufficient amount of money with the current inventory that we're taking in on an annual basis with respect to both city and streets within the, trees within the city right of way on city streets?
Yeah, that's a sufficient amount for what we can plant and keep up with. And
right.
Obviously wouldn't cover every vacant site I have, but we wouldn't be able to do that either.
Okay. Do you have a general sense of what that tree inventory is right now with the amount of money that we have through there on an annual basis?
According to our tree keeper program, which was an inventory, we have roughly 10,000 street trees, and I think about 3,000 to 4,000 vacant or sites that have been marked as vacant and probably pretty good to plan on.
Forgive me, I should probably rephrase that, but those are good numbers to know. Thank you for that. With respect to the $20,000 in that line, how many trees would you say that would buy? That's what I was trying to say. I apologize.
Oh, gotcha. We aim to plant each year about 300 new street trees.
Okay.
The last 2 years, we've kind of focused on some riverbank stuff and some saplings rather than the bigger trees you'd see out in the streets. But I know I have 2 neighborhoods I really want to saturate in 2022. So that would go to about 300, 400 trees, give or take.
Okay, Now, are those already allocated already? Because I know President Rezanetti and I are going to be coming to you shortly with something on the west side as it relates to Grand Boulevard.
No more trees on the
just-
west side.
What's that?
Said no more trees on the west side.
Yeah, no,
No, yeah.
13 are being
Oh, yeah,
removed
we need
because of
13,
utility issues. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
no. That gives us wiggle room, because we also,
Right.
the city does a street tree program where homeowners can
Right.
request us to, so that gives us the wiggle room to,
right,
handle those things. But typically what we do is, we, all the requests we have in, and then we saturate a neighborhood, that, isn't
right.
planted.
Awesome. Good to know. Thank you, Pat, very much.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so I am, my questions are with regard to the Ely Park improvements, and I'm, let's see, I have the contract in front of me with, that we approved with Indigo, that private company. And so I'm wondering, I was under the impression that that they would be responsible for doing a lot of the park improvements, right? That was like part of the appeal of bringing them in, was that they said that they could sort of bring the park up to snuff. And
they-
so,
Aviva, they can do the work, but we have to pay them to do the work.
oh, okay, so okay,
Example,
so all of the repairs that they're doing are coming out of our budget to do
Yes.
Yeah. here, okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that, that's a good question, Councilwoman Friedman, but I guess the simplest metaphor to use is the golf course is a city asset in the same way that Moravito Stadium is a city asset, right? So anything that's got to be upgraded or done to it, right, because we own it, we've got to pay for it.
Councilwoman President Resident, go ahead.
Pat, I'm just curious about the fiber services, and I think that's 70,000. I keep looking, missing the line here. Did you say that's an annual? And is this a new product they're using? It's like,
So it's Fiber, I guess is the brand name. It's technically called Engineered Wood Chips. It's not a new product. It's just something we have not physically been capable of keeping up with. So it's the mulch like that goes underneath the playgrounds.
right.
And of course, we couldn't just use all the nice mulch we have from our own trees because it's got to go through a special tumbler. So it's not too pointy. It won't splinter, this and that. And if you go around to some of the parks, just the amount of labor and the cost of it, we have, like, they don't currently have adequate, safety underneath, safety cushioning. So this would get us, I got a quote this year to do it. It came in at about 70. So this would get us up to snuff on all 14 playgrounds that use the engineered wood chips. Going forward, the number would be lower each year because some of them are starting from scratch on because all of it's rotted away or it's gone or it's washed away. So once we get it up to the proper amount, we won't have to have so much of it each year. We'd be putting in, an inch or so down rather than completely filling the pit.
Okay.
But that's wood based, not like the rubber,
Correct.
like that smells like a
You say
500.
engineered, so I'm thinking, I don't know, non-wood. What
No,
is that?
it's wood chips.
It's okay.
Yep, it's not the port in place rubber or anything like that.
Okay.
The port in place rubber is significantly more
I'm
expensive.
sure,
All right.
yeah. Smells nice though when it's hot. Yeah, you ever smell it? It's like the Indy 500 when you go to the playground. Councilman Scringy, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pat, just to follow up on the line that President Rezanetti was just talking about, I see the notation that there's 14 playgrounds that line and proposed allocation is associated with. Is that correct?
Yes, so we have 15 playgrounds, but Rec Park has the poured in place
Right.
rubber surfacing. So it'd be the
Right.
other 14 playgrounds. And this is what
Is,
the school district does with their playgrounds as well. They
right,
hire a landscaping company to come in once a year and just blow the product in, back up. So basically, like underneath the slide, and these numbers probably aren't
Mhm.
correct, but let's say you need 8 inches of product, where at, the border, where the grass starts, you need 2 inches. So they come in, measure it out and fill it up, to the right amount.
Right.
I
thank
have a
you.
question.
Is, Sunflower Park in the ward, is that on that playground list? I'm assuming.
That would be one of them, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat, very much.
Councilman Burns, go ahead.
Yes. My question is both for you and Chuck, I guess. What do we think that the total cost of the golf course is with what we're paying the company plus all of the maintenance to the city?
I'd have to go back and,
Rough.
if we look, when we go through the golf fund, I think they'll give you a good idea for
Okay.
next year. Councilman Burns.
Okay,
This 350,000 that we have here that we're looking to bond is to take care of. We've asked them for a 5-year plan. This takes care of most of that 5-year plan in 1 year, so the park gets up to the level that it needs to be at.
okay.
Yep, that's something we just want to get it done and out of the way rather than drag this out for no
Okay.
reason.
We could have, one of the things that we thought about was throwing 50 to 75,000 at it a year. Okay, and paying it through the actual fund itself, or doing everything up front. And we, talking to them, we think we can get them to a better spot to get customers there by doing it all now rather than doing it a piecemeal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Pat on this part? We can get to the golf fund. Yeah, let's these pages and all.
Like make a motion to approve pages
Ms.
70, 76, 77, 78, 82, 81, 82, 83, 84, 87, 88, 89, and capital improvements, page 212. As amended.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, let's do the golf fund and then we'll take a quick break. So we will open the pages for the golf fund. Pages 141 through 150. Now the 141 is the summary, so you probably want to start back at the operating part. I'm sure Chuck will pitch on some of these pages as well. So probably start on 145, 146.
We'll start at 140, well, 144 is 0. Unless we move
Sure.
something into it.
Okay.
This is all pretty new between pages 145, 146. Are all fairly new lines that haven't been out here before. Basically, this is based off of what has occurred this year as well as what they anticipate next year. We sat down with Indigo and they've created a budget. We sat down with them, revised it, and went through it, each line item with them, and this is what we came up with as what we think are fair numbers for next year. Some of the reasons that numbers are different, the second item down, food and beverages, they basically never opened the restaurant this year. They've been selling some soda, beer, say potato chips and stuff out of the clubhouse without ever opening the restaurant. The gasoline, diesel, hopefully when we get our new carts, they're going to become much more efficient and not gas guzzlers like the used ones we have today up there. I don't know if you have any other questions as we're going, you go through this. And Joe, to your question, it basically $790,000 plus, I think it's another 100,000, so about whatever that adds up to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Point of order, I apologize. Were these pages opened?
What's that? I'm sorry, what?
Were these page numbers
Yes.
officially opened?
Yes,
Oh, they
140.
were. Okay, I
Yep,
apologize.
yep, all of 141 through 150 are open.
My apologies. Thank you,
No,
sir.
no problem.
On page 149 are the leases for principal and interest on equipment and golf carts that we went onto a lease or started to purchase them all back in, I believe, May. We still do not have all the equipment in or the carts. And so the lease does not start. That's why we haven't made any payments till we receive everything. And that's all due to COVID.
I'd like to add, this is the first year since I've been here that I haven't fielded numerous irate phone calls about the condition of the golf course. So the company up there is really doing an outstanding job with turning Ely Park back around.
And I'm not sure how many people are golfers out there, but if you were up in that course last April or May and went up there this month, it's substantially different. My personal opinion is the guys are doing a great job of getting the course in shape. And from a revenue standpoint, the revenue is picked up over the term of the year. I mean, we basically had very little in April, May, and June. Come around July and August, it started to really pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
Go
we-
ahead, Councilman
do
Burns.
we anticipate I've been up at the golf course. It is remarkable. It is really great. So do we anticipate in the future that we'll at least break even, that it's not going to cost the city any money? We'll generate enough?
I think the fair picture to look at that, Councilman Burns, is I think it's going to take 3 years to get there.
Okay, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah,
That's what they're projecting, yes.
But I think I agree, it's improved remarkably, but the investment of that within that 350 that Pat said of some stuff in the clubhouse itself, facility, including food service, will also accelerate that revenue big time, because they whatever they got was just from serving hot dogs outside and just one little cooler inside. So, you know, that could be a big.
And I know that, several leagues have called and reached out to me that have left Ely Park in the past and saying how excited they are that we've invested in it and they're coming back next year. They're moving their leagues back up to Ely Park.
Will the restaurant generate income only for the city? Are they, the people that are running it, we're paying them to run it. So I'm wondering, are they going to run the restaurant, or
They run the
will we run the
restaurant.
restaurant?
They run the restaurant.
They run the restaurant, but any profit that comes back to the system.
Chairman Strong, can I make a comment, please?
Yes, Councilman Scanlon, thank you. You scared me there when you started talking.
Sorry about that. So whether you're a golfer or not, I think we should all support this. It's an asset, the city of Binghamton, and it's been neglected through nobody's fault. I would add to that, it's been neglected for a number of years, and I think we're on the right program now. And like I said, whether you're a golfer or not, we should all support this. It's an asset the city owns, and they've owned it for years and years. So I certainly will support everything that happens at Ely Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
I concur.
Chuck or Pat, was there anything else in those other? I know transfer to capital was 0. Anything else in the? You want to go over the revenue and the debt service?
The debt service is related to the equipment in the, on page 142, that what we anticipate the cost to be for the carts and the equipment that we purchased. And then the revenues, they broke it out what they anticipate from the different areas. Recreation concessions of 102,000, greens fees of 429,000, rental carts of 189,000, driving range of 15,000, pro shop of 25,000, and then in order to make this fund zero, we're gonna have to transfer $126,000 from the general fund for next year. That's what we anticipate that to lose based off of everything next year. I do expect them to do better than that. As I put this together, I did it conservatively.
Any questions for Pat and Chuck on 141 through 150, the golf fund? Somebody like to make a motion to accept these pages?
I move
I was
that
just
we
about to say,
accept, I move that we accept
Go
the
on.
pages 141 through 150.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, we're heading into the home stretch, but I think we do need a 5-minute break. So let's
you,
take
everyone.
5 minutes and it's about 7 o'clock exactly. So let's try to be right. It's like 7:06. Thank you. I added a minute. Okay, hopefully everybody's slightly refreshed for the home stretch here. Lee, could you do a quick roll call for us, or Janine, whichever one wants to?
Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Rossetti.
Present.
That's all 7 here.
Okay. All right, we'll get right into it. I think and now, of course, Laura or Chuck will correct me if I'm wrong. We need to reopen the only pages, since we took care of the engineering capital earlier. We need to reopen the legal section. Pages 26 to 27, 205, 206, 207, 204, 203. And the only thing we need to do is these new.
Basically, Councilman Strong, what occurred last night is when Ken was doing all the motions and changing it, he left too much money in the insurance fund and not an equal amount in the general fund. This is straightening that all out. So that we'll have, basically, the paralegal was all in the insurance fund, and it really should have been 50%, 50%. That's what we're straightening out here.
Okay. So I'm going to go through these. I'm just going to read them. Chuck has written them for me. I think we had all understood from Ken what we're trying to do to have a paralegal and to increase one of the attorney salaries. But they have to be in the right funds between A and M. So this should accomplish that. And I think we had answered all the other questions for that section. So we'll start. We have, besides the motion to approve the whole thing, we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 motions. So the first one, a motion to decrease M1910.51900, which is the risk assistant paralegal, from 42,000 to 21,000, leaving the annual salary at 42,000 and designating 50% to be paid from M1910. An increase A1990.55000 by $21,000.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah. Why just reopen it, right? No. Do we have a second on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I think we're having some microphone issues. I can't hear everything coming in on the city clerk end.
From me?
No, from everyone else, actually. That's spoken in the
think-
last few minutes.
Oh, I
Right,
don't
we
think
didn't hear a
anybody,
motion at all.
you didn't hear any of that motion?
We heard your part, but if there was something afterwards.
That was the motion.
No, yeah, what he said was the motion.
Everything
I
else,
motioned it and
everything else was just
Pres-
but like noise other than a second. Do we have a second?
So, but
yeah,
Yeah,
President
second.
Rossetti.
I
said-
apologize. We were getting a clarification if we had to formally motion to reopen the pages, but we never closed these pages. So we did not, we're basically, they're still open actually. So we did that first when I read the page numbers. So we're good with that. Okay, so anyone opposed to that? Okay. Second motion to decrease A1990.55000 by 21,000 and increase A1420.51000 by $21,000, adding a detail line risk assistant paralegal at an annual salary of $42,000 and designating 50% to be paid from A1420.
second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yes, when I'm reading these, I'm actually making the motion. So, okay, that one's good. Third one, motion I motion to decrease M1910.54900 by $500 and increase A1990.5500 by $500.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, last motion on these. I motion to decrease A1990.55000 by $500 and increase A1420.54430 by $500.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. That's it, right? Except for the whole thing? Okay, so I need a motion to approve the legal and insurance 26 to 27, 205 to 206, 207, 204, 203 as amended.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Was there a second on that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can't hear, the only person we can hear is Councilman Strawn.
Yeah, you gotta have it right next to you. We're good.
I did second it.
Yep,
I
she
didn't-
seconded, yeah. President Resnick seconded.
I did wrong.
Okay. Chuck, guide us here, Chuck and Lori, how do you want me to open these? You want
Say,
everything all the way to the end?
no.
Or do you want to just do the ones at the bottom here first?
Go to the bottom of the first
Okay.
page.
We're going to open the bottom of the first page, and then we'll go to the last page. So we will open pages I'm just going to do it in order. 107, 108, 6, 109, 212, and 201 and 202.
Page 107 is the bonds the city's liable for next year, the amounts. The total principal payments are going to be 3.785 million, and the interest will be 1,200,000. There is an estimated refunding savings that we're going through a refunding bond that should be closed by the end of October. Those are estimates that I have from them. They're not permanent, so it is possible we could either need more money or less money next year, but we should be in the ballpark. Page 108 is the bond anticipation notes from the money that we borrowed this past April that is due next April. We need to make payments of $568,299 in principal payments and $124,030 in interest. Any questions on those two? Page number 6 is just a summary of all those bonds that we just basically went through. It tells you the dates the payments are due. The first one is usually a principal and interest. The second one is just usually an interest payment.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. There appears to be a discrepancy between the two numbers of the ban principal, because on page 6, it says 631,989, and on page 108, it says 568,299. What's accounting for that difference?
Shouldn't be, so. Guess we're gonna have to make a motion on this page.
Which one is the correct number?
108 is correct.
Okay. So I
Okay.
guess I can make a motion to amend the principal ban line on page 6 to read $586,299.
568, 299.
Thank you. In my effort to correct the mistake, I wrote down the wrong number. Okay. So sorry, I make a motion to amend the principal ban line on page 6 to read $568,299.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, good pickup, Councilwoman
Thanks,
Friedman.
Aviva.
Thank you.
We
And
would
since we're
need
not
to
moving
then
anything, it was just a
amend-
correction. That's just a straight
Right,
motion.
but
We're
we
just
would
correcting
need
the
to
number.
amend the
Okay,
total at the bottom.
thank you. Thank you for that. Councilman Riley, go ahead.
Yeah, so the totals would need to be amended at the bottom as well. The bottom of page 6.
The bottom, the 4417 is going to change, right?
Lori's saying that
We'll calculate everything and then we'll pass it as amended.
Okay.
Ready to go to 109?
109.
109 is interfund transfers. These are funds that get transferred from the general fund to the other funds because they're not at least at a break even. So the refuse fund, as we spoke about earlier this year, $2.4 million is the taxes that go towards the refuse fund to pick up garbage. Parking ramps are going to be short 141,228 next year. And golf fund 126,561 that we talked earlier today. The next line is 212. Okay, on 212, you've now approved everything in the capital line. And there's really no changes to that. And then page 201 and 202. $201 and 202 comes from page 2012 or from 212, and it just shows what accounts we're going to put the money into, like in the capital account. Does everyone understand that page? Okay. Want to make a motion to approve those 107, 108, 6, 109, 212, 201, 202 as amended?
Motion to approve pages 107 through 109, 201 through 202, 212 in its entirety, and page 6 is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. On to the last page.
So why don't we open up everything down to page 106?
Okay. We're going to open up everything down to 106. So I'm too tired to group these together. So 110, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106. We will open those pages.
On page 110, the transfer to capital, you already approved all this stuff in the 212. It's just what line we have to pay it out of and transfer it to the capital fund. Page 98.
I'm sorry, Councilman Friedman, go ahead.
There's a question.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could explain the difference between the proposed budget from this year and the amount that was encumbered or expended thus far this year. Because those are two vastly different numbers.
One of them is right off the top of my head. We did a $1.5 million transfer earlier this year for capital equipment for DPW, equipment, police equipment, and fire. I know I had 2 ambulances. It was like a total of 1.5 million. I know that's where most of that, well, I don't know.
Okay, so if I could ask a follow-up question. It's hard to tell if you were finished talking or if there's a pause. If you were thinking.
We're trying to look it up right now, Aviva, but
Oh, okay.
I know that 1.5 is for sure. Let's see what else we can find.
Okay. So I know you're looking, I don't want to ask you another question to distract, but I'm just wondering why this year's proposed budget is so much lower, given the fact that we've made millions of dollars of transfers last year.
The other 2 million on this was the transfer for the fire station. So you got 1.5 for DPW equipment and $2 million for the fire station. Last year, we budgeted 289,000.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding that the DPW equipment transfer of 1.5 million and the fire station transfer of 2 million, those are unusually high items.
Yes.
And you're not predicting anything like that coming for this year.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Aviva, let me rephrase that. The answer to that question is, let's talk about the community center. When that all gets settled, that money will flow through a A9950 to that budget transfer when we do it. As an example, the same could occur with the parking garage, with the amount of money that we're using out of fund balance. So those are the changes that would occur next year that would come through those projects when they're approved.
So there is a chance that we might have some high value line items at some point this following year.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you examples. I don't want to put that in here, and it really has to go through a resolution process.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Okay, page 98. I do have to have a motion. When we put this together at the end of August, we did not have the state retirement numbers. We got them in early October. So if someone wants to take notes, here's the motion that I recommend. We have too much money in the A9010 and not enough money in the A9015. So the motion is to move $200,000 out of A9010 58000A and move it into contingency A19905500. That'd be the first motion. And then the second motion would be taking 188,892.13 out of contingency A19905500 and putting that into A9015.58000A. That leaves 11,000 and change into the contingency to make up for the difference of the other 11,000 we moved this earlier tonight. don't know if anyone has any questions on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to move $200,000 out of line ending in 58000A to contingency ending in 55000.
Have a second. Councilman, President Resnick seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, go ahead.
Chuck, what line did you say that needed to go into? That 1888 number?
9015.
9015.58000A. The next page. Oh, no A, excuse me. There's no A.
I was gonna say, yeah, because that's the line that it just came out of. That's why it's just, I think it's the 58000 without the A. Correct.
Yes, yep.
All right, so I'll make a motion to move $188,892.13 out of contingency ending in 55000 and moving that to line ending in 58000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Page 100 is Social Security. That's based off of all the wages that you've approved throughout the budget. Workers' comp is the general funds portion of the workers' comp fund that we talked about yesterday, how that cost decreased for next year. Unemployment, we have 30,000 in there. That's mainly due to leaving. We don't usually use any unemployment numbers, but with the change in the administration, there's a possibility some people will be unemployed. So we have 30,000 in there. Disability insurance is we have long-term and short-term disability for different individuals or unions, 22,000. Health insurance, 8,544,000 is the number that is up from last year. I can tell you that our claims have not been very good over the last 7 months. I am hopeful that I don't have to come down here at the end of the year and say, we need to put more money in there, but the claims have not been running very well. It's the first time since I've been here in 7 years that I've seen claims as bad as they have been. Aviva, yes?
Go ahead, Aviva.
Thanks. Sorry, can you just clarify what you mean by the claims have been bad? I
We,
don't exactly know what that means.
we pay the actual claims. If I was to go to the hospital or doctors, the city pays for that directly. We don't pay for a premium like a smaller business would. Okay, we're responsible for all the claims up to a certain dollar value, and then a stop loss plan kicks in. I could tell you in the past, we'd have claims of $50,000, $60,000 a week. I can't remember the last time we were underneath 110.
Do you
And I-
attribute that to anything?
Suppose that comes.
Do you attribute that to, I mean, anything that you can see that's causing that?
I will answer it, maybe unhealthy workforce, okay? And I'm
You can blame it on
actually,
global warming, for instance.
I know it's not COVID, because I asked that question last week. Do we have any large claims out here related to COVID? The answer is no. Okay. One of the things that I'll be putting together is that we are working with Excelis and some of the local gyms to try to get people to go to them and sanitize them, hopefully.
But that's why Excelis does the admin, because of HIPAA rules, you really can't and aren't supposed to know all of the details of that, right? You really
Correct.
can't.
Yes. And
But
if
we'd have to
somebody,
go into executive session, I think, to discuss that specifically.
and I really couldn't talk about specifics, but if
Talk
someone
about-
really, if
Yeah,
someone wanted to come in here and look at the records, I have them going back to 2015. I wouldn't want to put it out, but they don't have individuals on them. They tell you monthly claims,
Right.
and you can see what I'm talking about.
Right.
105 is supplemental payments for disability. These are firemen that are on 207 that we continue to pay till they're age 70. The number's going down, but there's still a few out there. And other employee benefits, we have an EAP program that costs us $14,000 a year, and compensated absences. This really covers for people that leave that we may need to hire a position sooner rather than wait till their time works out for 30,000. So that takes us down to 106. If you want to make a motion on those pages, Councilman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve pages 98 through 106 and 110 as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay,
There was a second on that?
yeah, President Resonetti.
You can't hear it.
Yes, I did second it.
No, we've told you several times that you gotta turn your mic on.
Last time.
She's used to being over here. It's because she doesn't have the gavel anymore, so she's not turning her mic on.
I want to be able to say second.
Okay, I apologize. I'm getting us off base here. Can we open the rest of them, Chuck? Lori? Okay. So we will open pages 7 through 13, 47, 2, 3, 4, 5, the appendix, which is the fee schedule, 214 through 222. The capital bond doesn't have a page, is that it? Okay. Okay, so we will open those pages.
Okay, I'll go through the revenue and not go through them all, but I'll try to explain to you what each line is. Real property taxes is what the tax levy is for the city for next year, 34,073,797. 41,081 is pilots that we expect to collect next year of 1,364,334. Sales tax, 13 million. I've been going through a series of reviews with Moody's and other investors that look to buy our bonds. And in doing so, our first 2 months of sales tax is up 20% from 2020 and up 10% from 2019, which was our highest year ever.
Great.
Just skipping down here, ambulance charges of 700,000. I'm just looking at some of the bigger ones here. On page 10, you can see parking ticket fines. They seem to be increasing lately. We have a couple new ticket writers, and they're actually doing their job well. Interfund revenues on page 11, that's money that comes from the other funds, whether it's CDBG, water, sewer, to pay for some of our work that we do for them. 43,001 is our state aid, which the state has decided they're not going to do anything with. So I'll leave that. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of the items there, pages 10 through 13, or 7 through 13.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, going back to page 7, the pilot agreements, you said these are estimates of things that we are expecting to.
Most of them are factual. There's some that are based off of how much revenue they get. So if you look at, trying to see one here, East Hill Senior Housing, $5,888. That's dependent on how much revenue they collect. It's a different
Okay.
type, where Boscov's, we know we're gonna get 60,000.
Yeah, I was looking at Woodburn Court specifically because I know they had a 30-year pilot that's up this year that we haven't approved yet. So that number could be vastly different, correct? I'm not saying it will or it won't be, but there's a chance that it could be.
I'm not aware, Aviva, of that. This is what assessment gave me and from the county when we put
Okay.
this together.
Okay, so these pilots could be up at different times, right? Like they're not
Yes.
necessarily annual. Okay, but right.
They're annual payments, but they expire at different times.
Right, okay. The Woodburn Court one just jumped out at me that I know that pilot is up this year. Okay. And I had another question. On page 9, the SRO or under the public safety line, I noticed that the Binghamton University SROs are listed. Was that, and I'm sorry, I didn't look this up in advance, but was that part of the SRO contract that we signed? I thought that was just high school and middle school.
No, we have one, I believe, that handles the it's at B. I know we do have one for BU.
The BU one was a separate one that had nothing to do with the one we recently passed. That was completely separate.
It was, and forgive me that I don't have this available. That was a separate piece of a separate contract that we.
You may not have
approved?
seen it yet, or it's an old one that will be coming down to be renewed.
I
I'm not-
see. Okay.
Yeah,
So
the
that-
original one, Councilwoman Friedman, that was passed, I think, even before you were on council. It probably is termed. I don't remember the amount of time. Chuck is right. It probably will come back at some point, but that's why, in your defense, that's probably why you don't remember it.
Right. Okay. I think that was. I think those were all of my questions. Right, did we open to page 11 or we discussed page 11?
Yep, that's open.
Okay, actually, sorry, I have one more question. I know you're so excited about that. So the premium on obligations line, that's normally 0, but we had $100,000 in revenue this year. Can you expand more on what that was?
Yes, it's something that we can't budget for because we don't know. When we go out to bond in April, companies bid on our things and sometimes they offer a premium and obligation and sometimes they don't. So this $100,000 that we received this year goes towards paying the interest that we have to pay next April.
Okay, that makes sense. And my last question is, can you touch on what kind of things might fall under the unclassified miscellaneous line? Sounds kind of mysterious.
Where is that line? The one above it?
Right underneath it. A42770. The unclassified miscellaneous, and there's
Page 11, about a third of the way down.
on page 11. There's $7,500 and basically no description of what that might be. Are you seeing what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
trying to look it up.
Lori's
Aviva.
taking a quick look on her
Oh,
computer.
okay.
I'm drawing a
saying-
blank of what it might be, but I'm sure as soon as I
Right.
see it.
No, I don't mean to be impatient, being virtual, it's hard to tell when somebody's looking at something or just sitting in silence.
I'll give you some examples. If people pay for FOIL request, that goes into this line. That's probably the biggest. Actually, there, one of the bigger line items should have gone against Ely Park last year. We collected some utility bills this year that they owed us from last year, and it got posted here, and it should have went to Ely Park revenue. That's about $800 of it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Scringy, go ahead.
Thank you. Chuck, if I can ask if this line that Councilwoman Friedman brought up on page 11, again, the one ending in 42770, if a decent chunk of that revenue is related to FOIL requests, why is that revenue line not associated with City Council's budget and the clerk's office?
No revenue line goes to a different department. All the revenue lines show up here. None of them show up into each department.
Right, but I'm saying, let me rephrase. I apologize. I didn't mean specifically that department's budget, but for example, why is that not articulated in the title, for example?
Because actually, if we wanted to set up a line that would just be a FOIL request, we could do that.
Right,
Okay.
right. Do we know how many categories of different things are?
There's a lot. There's a lot there. A lot of little things.
Okay. So this line is kind of like a catch-all,
Yes,
if you will.
things that we can't put to a specific other line.
Okay. So they just get aggregated into that one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on 7 through 13?
Mr. Chairman, may I offer a suggestion? I don't know if it necessarily needs to be reflected in this proposed budget, but I think an easy way to at least maybe provide some clarity for this. Could the title of this account line be changed from unclassified to just say uncategorized revenue? So at least it's more explicative of what it actually is. Obviously, it's a revenue line, but
Councilman Skirnge, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I will say this, that certain accounts, and I'd have to go look it up, are dictated by the state of what the classification name is. So if they have it called as unclassified, I couldn't change that account number. I could make another account number that's not part of their list, say a 42771, which may not be,
right.
and change it that way. Or we could break that out underneath the 770, make a 1, 2, 3 foils and things of that nature.
Chuck, I appreciate that. We got clarification on that. I don't want to create more work for you and Lori and the finance department. I know, like, for example, I think on page 7 or page 8, I think there's a budget line that's like clerk's fees or something like that. But maybe if that's just something for the future, just to, think about. You guys have put a lot of work into this already. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
We've already done our transfers to contingency, right? That's all. When it's to officially approve it, but we've
47, is the contingency that I think you need to approve as amended. Page 5 is a summary of the general fund expenses of 63.5, interfund transfers of 2.7, so our total expenses in the general fund will be 66.2. Revenue besides property taxes are 30.2 million, appropriated fund balance of 1,889,000, and reserve for debt 100,000, 402.17. Councilman Freeman, I wanted to point out, that when you were talking about premium obligations, the 42,710, that 100,397, that shows up, it's reducing our tax base the next year by 100,000, 402.17, where it says reserve for debt. It's a little bit higher here because of interest that we've earned since April. So our total property taxes will be $34,073,793.23. Jumping back to page 2. There's our tax levy, and you can see our rates for each year going back to 2000. The city's homestead rate will be 21.89 cents per thousand, and the non-homestead will be $40.70 per thousand. Page 4 is our constitutional tax limit. I would say this is pretty good news that we're down to 82% of our tax exempt exhausted. Not too long ago, we were about 93%. So we've made headway there. That's a combination of lowering taxes as well as the property valuation in the city of Binghamton increasing. Page 3 is a summary of all the funds. So our total budget here for all funds is $99,131,077.38. We have revenue of $61,292,377.82. Fund balance usage total between all the funds is $3,543,206.83. And reserves of $221,695.50. Leaving that property tax that we discussed at $34,073,797.23. When you throw the sewage treatment plant into the project, we're overseeing $125,141,314.38. Anyone have any questions on that group?
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you. I apologize. I actually have a question on page 12. And I'm sorry, I didn't see it before. I was wondering if we could just flip back. I apologize.
Sure, go ahead. We didn't.
Okay.
These are all still open. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So under the federal aid other line, that's 44089.F0015. That's ARPA funding, correct?
Correct. That's what it is.
So why is there not a second 22 million for this year?
For next year's budget,
Correct, for next year.
did we approve the second 23?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
if that's correct, that's why it's not in here yet. If you guys approve that acceptance, then it would get added to this year's budget and carry over into next year.
So it should be, the adjusted budget would then be 46 million, correct?
If it's been, once it gets approved, we'll put it up to 46 million. It's not 23 million this year because some of it went to other funds. Some of it went to the ramps fund.
We took 12 million.
But didn't we,
There was,
Yeah, 13
there was,
million next
there
year.
was contingency for lost revenue.
Right.
Well, on that line, you see the 13,147. That's the
Mhm.
amount that we've expended so far, or we've encumbered to expend. 12.4 million of it was the lost revenue. I think 659.
Chuck, I think the point is we did vote on an RL to receive round two. I think that's the point.
We gave him permission to accept it, but we didn't actually accept it. It's not here yet.
I'll have to go look, because if we did do the RL, we should have increased the budgeted amount.
So then we wouldn't, for tonight, then we wouldn't,
Actually, no, it would not show up here. It would show up in the receivables and payables is where you'll see that 23 million.
I see. Okay, so it is in here somewhere.
Yes, not in this budget. It's in the balance sheet.
I see. Okay,
What we show is that we're going to receive 40 or 23 million, and we owe that 23 million back if we don't spend it properly.
Oh, okay. So the differentiation is because I know we did vote to receive it, but we haven't voted to allocate it to a line yet, I think is what you're saying.
Correct. So what this is
Okay.
telling me,
All right.
we've moved out of that 46 million, 22.2
Right.
million.
Right. Okay. All right. That makes more sense. Thank you.
Anything else on those before we just touch on the fee schedule? And then when I think we're getting close.
The only thing that is changed on this was the sewer rates that you approved, I think, on the first night.
What changed?
On page 222, I believe. Yeah. it's in
They're the ones
yellow.
in yellow. Yep.
And that will go into effect on April 2nd of next year.
And what changed on the rate?
It went from $15 to $17 for the first 500 cubic feet. And every 100 cubic feet, it went from 7 to 740. It was basically about a 6% increase.
6%. A 6% increase that we changed. So what is the increase from last year? Well, you're saying that you put in the budget 15 and then we've changed it to 17
For next year.
for next year. So that is a total of 6% increase
Yes.
for next year. than last year.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions on 2 through 5, 7 through 13, 47, or 214 through 222?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve pages 7 to 13, 47, 52, 43, and 214 to 222.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Thank you, everyone. No, we're not quite done. Anything, any other housekeeping things?
Okay, before we take a full roll call vote, just want to thank everybody again. It's been a long 5 days. I think we did it pretty efficiently and thoroughly, especially the finance office, mayor's office, Ken, Brian, and Maggie. And I know Sharon's not technically in that department anymore, but she's been here a lot. Our clerks and especially Lori and Chuck for being here with us every minute here and help keep us straight. So thank you to everyone. So with Without further ado, we need a motion to approve
Motion.
this budget
Yeah.
as amended.
Second,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 2022 budget as amended.
second,
Okay, we need a full roll call on that. Mr. Clerk?
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Resnetti.
aye.
That's 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good work. We are adjourned.
Has the
Motion
hearing been
adjourned.
scheduled?
What's that?
The hearing?
What's that?
The public hearing.
Do we need to set the public hearing now?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hearing it'll be on Monday, the 25th at 5:15, and I'll send out the notice tomorrow morning.
Did everybody hear that? Monday, the 25th at 5:15 will be the public hearing. And that's a business meeting, right? Special business meeting? No,
It's a special business.
it's a special business meeting with a public hearing and then
Why is it special?
because it's not
It's not a normal meeting.
Correct. It
right.
has
Next
to-
week's our normal meeting. This is the Monday after that.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think we can do it next week because of the 5 days notice. We don't have quite enough time to do it next week.
Right.
And also, would it be possible to schedule the public hearing and the vote for 2 different days? One of them maybe could be part of another meeting, not to create an additional meeting, but if, I mentioned this before, if the public hearing is on the same day as the vote, let's say we hear from our constituents about something that changes our mind, there's not really any time to incorporate that feedback. And especially with something so important as the budget, if other people felt the same way that I did, I personally would prefer to have those 2 things on 2 different days.
We probably could, but we have to have it done by the 30th. So to be honest with you, it could get held over on the 25th to another meeting anyway. But if we schedule it that way and then it gets held over, we're really pushing it. So maybe we can discuss this.
Yeah, let's discuss it and see, because we're talking about the 25th, right, which is a Monday, and this needs to be wrapped up by the 30th. I would propose that we do the meeting, the hearing and the vote on Monday, the 28th, the 25th. And Lee, you're gonna send out a.
Yes, I'll send out the meeting announcement tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
My
Okay.
suggestion is that we do the public hearing, let everybody speak, and then determine if anything comes up during that public meeting that does that, then we hold it over, and we would have to do it over the next, at least 3 days that week. If nothing, nothing
Otherwise,
groundbreaking
as
comes up,
amended,
then we can.
as presented, right?
Right. So we will get it done that week, but I think we should schedule it that way. Let the public comment totally happen organically. And then if something does really come up in the public hearing that we want to consider, any of the 7 of us want to consider, that we can hold that vote over and do it as second reading on the later that week before the 30th.
All right. I make a
You got a
motion to adjourn.
Yeah, Joe already left. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I just said, I make a motion.
Second
to
thing, but I'll hit
adjourn.
it again. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Second. Thank you.